Ashley Scott here with ChatterNOLA. I'm so excited to be a part of the Big EI event. Thank you, the SLT Scrapbook, for inviting me to join the panel. Today we're going to talk about addressing problem behavior through functional communication training. What the F? I know, I had the same question too. So today we're going to delve in a little bit to try and figure out what's the function, WTF, of the behavior and how we can address it through functional communication training. So to get started, we're going to talk about actually what functional communication is. And in simplest terms, it's just the ability to get your wants and needs met through nonverbal and verbal communication methods. This is important because we have to be able to effectively communicate our wants and needs in order not to engage in problematic behavior. This is true for both kids and adults alike. So now that we kind of know what it is, let's delve into why it's important. One of my favorite quotes is that someone with ineffective communication will more likely than not engage in maladaptive behaviors. Kids can't communicate to you what's wrong. They will certainly show you through their behavior. It is definitely still communication. And so think about as a toddler who may have language delays, communication delays. It's not easy trying to navigate a world in which others are depending on your ability to be able to express to them what you want and need. And so think about a toddler. They don't get up in the morning and say, today is the day I want to tantrum endlessly to get my wants and needs met. That is exhausting. So think about the frustration you may have as a parent trying to juggle and figure out what it is your little person is wanting or if they're needing. It is that much more stressful for the kid who has to engage in the problem behavior in order to get their wants and needs met. That exerts a whole bunch of energy. And just overall, it's just not a good way to be able to communicate those things. And so we want to talk about how do we address it. And so a kid who is a biter, a kid who tantrums, a kid who falls out or becomes aggressive or exhibits aggressive behavior, that doesn't just happen out of the blue. I know sometimes I'm a mom, I get it and I'm like, I wonder where that came from. More likely than not, it was learned. And so for little Johnny, who wants the juice, whines for the juice, and mom gives him the juice, has learned that all I need to do is whine and then the adults give me juice. For the school-age child, that looks like, I'm really not sure about my handwriting skills, but now I have to write all day long in class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage in off-task behavior that will hopefully get me put out. That way I can escape the task of writing, right? And then my behavioral needs were met and I didn't have to say a word. My behavior said it all for me. And so when you're looking at terms of engaging in behaviors or maladaptive behaviors, it's important to understand the universal or the most typical reasons why we engage in behaviors. It's either for attention from others, escape from something we may find aversive or just don't want to do, access to something that we want and maybe we are not being able to get that at the moment, or escape from tasks that we find hard to do or just not able to get through or don't want to do. And then lastly, automatic reinforcement, right? Those sensory seeking behaviors. So now that we kind of know why we engage in behaviors, now we can talk about how do we teach functional communication to address those. And so before we can do anything, we have to figure out what's the function of the behavior, WTF. Again, it doesn't just happen out of the blue. So we want to start collecting data, right? Because if it's not written down, it never happened. And so we want to collect ABC data. What's that? Antecedent, behavior, consequence, right? And in layman's terms, or just short terms, antecedent, what happened right before the behavior occurred? Then what did the behavior look like? And then lastly, what happened right after? if you can collect data on that and then you can go back and look for patterns in the behavior, then you can find replacement behaviors, i.e. functional communication, that you can replace those behaviors with so that they're more socially appropriate. And the takeaway from that, if you don't remember anything else, you must remember that whatever you're replacing that problematic behavior with, it has to end, the end result has to be the same function that the problematic behavior was used as, right? So if I bit the kid because I learned that biting gets me what I want, then functional communication would be teaching that kid to say, my turn. Teach them turn-taking skills. Teach them to share, to be able to negotiate for themselves. No, Susie, I don't want to do this. I would rather do that. When you're looking at kids who are language delayed, especially infants, or not infants, but toddlers, who don't have any words, this can be a very stressful situation for both the parent and the kids alike. So it's definitely important for them to start off with the very basic thing, right? Which would be command, the ability to make requests. And this is going to be in the form of sign, verbal communication, or picture exchange communication system, whichever is most appropriate for the child at the time. So definitely, excuse me, so definitely kids who are having fallout tantrums, mom can't figure out day-to-day time. I don't know when he's hungry. I'm not sure if he's hurt. I just know that he cries and whines all the time. Well, this is the perfect time and the perfect candidate for functional communication training, right? And so maybe that training is in the form of modeling. Kid wants juice. You suspect they want juice. The kid may just whine, but you know it's around snack time and more likely than not, they're thirsty. So we would say, juice? Juice? You want juice? Sure, juice, and hand them the juice. For the kid who may not be pointing, who won't verbally imitate what you said in the form of an echoic, then we definitely want to look at some other methods. So maybe it's offering them a choice, right? Cookie, chips. And if you notice, I use single words, cookie, chips. When we're offering choices, especially even in just language overall, when we're dealing with delayed language, when we're dealing with kids who are not yet where they should be in the communication realm, then we want to keep this rule of thumb. We always want to use one word more than what they're able to produce. So a kid with no words, we wouldn't want to say, Johnny, say, I want juice, please. We would simply say juice. For the kid who can say juice, then you would add one more word to that. My juice, more juice, cold juice, red juice. You just want to expand one word more than what they're able to do. And so in lieu of Johnny falling out, we would now have taught him, we could say juice for juice. We could point at a picture for juice in order to gain juice. We could hold mommy by the hand, and as you're narrating, oh, what do you want? Should we get juice? Juice, juice. Johnny, help me, where's the juice? Because we always want to check for understanding, right? Does the kid even know that the word juice is the symbol for the actual carton of juice? And so we would check that understanding, because remember, he's not using words, and we say juice, juice, help me, find the juice, Johnny, where's the juice? Juice, show me juice, juice, good job. And then we pour him the juice. Another rule of thumb, reinforcement, right? So kids who engage consistently and frequently, persistently in maladaptive behavior, that has been reinforced over time. And that's a strong reinforcer, right? And so it usually gets them to the terminal goal quite quickly. Now we have to go and kind of undo some of those things. So we want to know, and we want to keep in the back of our minds, that in order for consequences to be effective, it has to happen within 3 to 5 seconds of the actual behavior occurring. This is why collecting data is so important. We need to figure out what the behavior is functioning as, so that when we are trying to replace it, with a more socially appropriate behavior, that we are still meeting the needs of what the behavior was acting as initially. So this was my little summary of addressing challenging behaviors through functional communication training. I hope you now have your what the F moments all the time, trying to find out what the function of the behavior is so that we can replace it with more socially appropriate behaviors, be it verbal communication, nonverbal expression, or anything that would be more appropriate socially for the kid as opposed to engaging in problematic behavior. Thanks guys for your time. It's been a pleasure.